6th Standard Term 3 Social Science Subject History Unit 3 The Age of Empires Guptas and Vardhanas. By the end of the 3rd century, the powerful empires established by the Kusanas in the north and Satavahanas in the south had lost their greatness and strength. After the decline of Kusanas and Satavahanas, Samudragupta carved out a kingdom and established his dynastic rule, which lasted for about 200 years. After the downfall of the Guptas and thereafter an interregnum of nearly 50 years, Harsha of Vardhana dynasty ruled North India from 606 to 647 AD. Sources: archaeological sources, gold, silver and copper coins issued by Gupta rulers. Allahabad pillar inscription of Samudragupta, Mehrauli iron pillar inscription, Udayagiri cave inscription, Madura stone inscription and Sanchi stone inscription of Chandragupta II, Bihitari pillar inscription of Skandagupta, the Gatwa stone inscription, Madhuban copper plate inscription, Sonpet copper plate, Naranda inscription on clay seal. Literary sources: Vishnu, Matsya, Vayu and Bhagavata Puranas and Nidhi Sastras of Narada. Vishnu Purana, Matsya Purana, Vayu Purana, Bhagavata Purana and Nidhi Sastras of Narada. Vishaka Datta's Devi Chandraguptam and Mudra Rakshasa and Banas Harsha Charita. Dramas of Kalidasa. Accounts of Chinese Buddhist monk Fahian who visited India during the reign of Chandragupta II. Harsha's Ratnavalli, Nahananda and Priyadarshika. Huangswang's Siyuki. The foundation of Gupta dynasty. Sri Gupta is considered to be the founder of the Gupta dynasty. He is believed to have reigned over parts of present-day Bengal and Bihar. He was the first Gupta ruler to be featured on coins. He was succeeded by his sons Ghatotkacha. Both are mentioned as Maharajas in inscriptions. Chandragupta I, period 319 to 335 AD. Chandragupta I married Kumara Devi of the famous and powerful Lichavi family. Having gained the support of this family, Chandragupta could eliminate various small states in northern India and crown himself the monarch of a larger kingdom. The gold coins attributed to Chandragupta bear the image of Chandragupta, Kumaradevi and the legend Lichavaya. Lichavi was an old Ghana Sangha and its territory lay between the Ganges and the Nepal Terai. Chandragupta, period 335 to 380. Chandragupta, son of Samudragupta, period 335 to 380. Samudragupta, son of Chandragupta I, was the greatest ruler of the dynasty. The Prayag Prashasti, composed by Samudragupta's court poet Harisena, was engraved on Allahabad pillar. This Allahabad pillar inscription is the main source of information for Samudragupta's reign. Prashasti. Prashasti is a Sanskrit word meaning commendation or in praise of. Court poets flattered the kings listing out their achievements. These accounts were later engraved on pillars so that the people could read them. Consolidation of Gupta dynasty. Samudragupta was the great general, and when he became emperor, he carried on a vigorous campaign all over the country and even in the south. In the southern Pallava kingdom, the king was defeated by Samudragupta was Vishnugopa. Samudragupta conquered 9 kingdoms in North India. He reduced 12 rulers of the southern India to the status of feudatories and forced them to pay tribute. He received homage from the rulers of East Bengal, Assam, Nepal, the eastern part of Punjab, and the various tribes of Rajasthan. Samudragupta was a devotee of Vishnu. He revived the Vedic practice of performing horse sacrifice to commemorate victories in wars. He issued gold coins, and in one of them he is portrayed playing harp, Veenai. Samudragupta was not only a great conqueror but a lover of poetry and music, and for this he earned the title Kaviraja. Sri Meghavarman, the Buddhist king of Ceylon, was a contemporary of Samudragupta. Chandragupta II was the son of Samudragupta. He was also known as Vikramaditya. He conquered western Malwa and Gujarat by defeating the Saga rulers. He maintained friendly relationship with the rulers of southern India. The Iron Pillar near Kudipinar is believed to have been built by Vikramaditya. Fahian, a Buddhist scholar from China, visited India during his reign. Vikramaditya is said to have assembled the greatest writers and artists, Navaratna, 9 jewels, in his court. Kalidasa is said to be one among them. Navaratna in the court of Vikramaditya are 9 jewels in the court of Vikramaditya. Kalidasa, Sanskrit poet. Harisena, Sanskrit poet. Amarasimha, lexicographer. Dhanvantri, physician. Kahapanaka, astrologer. Sanku, architect. Varahamihira, astronomer. Varuchi, grammarian and Sanskrit scholar. Vitalbhatta, magician. The surname of Chandragupta II were Vikramaditya, Narendra Chandra, Simha Chandra, Narendra Simha, Vikrama Devaraja, Devagupta, and Devashri. Chandragupta II was succeeded by his son Kumaragupta I, who built the famous Nalanda University. Kumaragupta's successor Skandagupta had to face a new threat in the form of the invasion of Huns. He defeated them and drove them away, but after 12 years they came again and broke the back of the Gupta Empire. The last of the great Guptas was Baladitya, assumed to have been Narasimha Gupta I. He was himself attracted towards Buddhism. He was paying tribute to Mihirakula, but was distressed by his hostility towards Buddhism, so he stopped paying tribute. Though Baladitya succeeded in imprisoning him, Mihirakula turned treacherous and drove away Baladitya from Magadha. After Baladitya, the great Gupta Empire faded away. The last recognized king of the Gupta Empire was Vishnugupta. Fahian. During the reign of Chandragupta II, the Buddhist monk Fahian visited India. His travel accounts provide us information about the socio-economic, religious and moral conditions of the poor of the people of the Gupta's age. According to Fahian, the people of Magadha were happy and prosperous. The justice was mildly administered and there was no death penalty. Gaya was desolated. Kapilavastu had become a jungle, but at Patliputra people were rich and prosperous. Gupta polity. The divine theory of kingship means the concept that king is the representative of God on earth, and so he is answerable only to God and not to anyone else. was practiced by the Gupta rulers. The Gupta kings wielded enormous powers in political, administrative, military, and judicial spheres. The Gupta king was assisted by a council of mandris, ministers. The council consisted of princes, high officials, and feudatories. A large number of officials were employed by the Gupta rulers to carry on the day-to-day administration of the country. High-ranking officials were called Dandanya. High-ranking officials were called Dandanayakas and Mahadandanayakas. The Gupta Empire was divided into provinces known as Deshas or Bhuktis. They were administered by the governors designated as Uparikas. The province was divided into districts such as Vishyas, and they were controlled by the officers known as Vishyapatis. At the village level, there were functionaries such as Gramika and Gramadhyaksha. The extensive empire shows the important role of military organization. Seals and inscriptions mentioned military designation as Baladikrita and Mahabaladikrita, commander of infantry and cavalry respectively. The system of spionage included spies known as Duttakas. Society and economy, land and peasants. Nitisara, authored by Kamandaka, emphasizes the importance of the royal treasury and mentions various sources of revenue. The military campaign of kings like Samudragupta were financed through revenue surpluses. Land tax was the main revenue to the government. The condition of peasants were pathetic. They were required to pay various taxes. They were reduced to the position of serfs. Classification of land during Gupta period: Shestra, cultivable land; Kila, wasteland; Aprahatta, jungle or forest land; Vasti, habitable land; Gupta Sharha, pastoral land. Trade and commerce. The contribution of the traders for the development of Gupta's economy was very impressive. There were two types of traders, namely Shrestri and Sartavaha. Shrestri traders usually settled at a standard place. Sartavaha traders were caravan traders who carried their goods to different places. Trade items ranged from daily products to valuable and luxury goods. The important trade goods were pepper, gold, copper, iron, horses and elephants. Lending money at a high rate of interest was in practice during Gupta period. The Guptas developed roadways connecting different parts of the country. Patliputra, Ujjain, Benares, Mathura were the famous trade centers. Ports in western Kalyan, Mangalore, Malabar and eastern Tamralipatti in Bengal, coast of India facilitate trade. Nalanda University flourished under the patronage of the Gupta Empire in the 5th and 6th centuries and later under Emperor Harsha of Kanuj. At Nalanda, Buddhism was the main subject of study. Other subjects like yoga, Vedic literature and medicine were also taught. Huangshuang spent many years studying Buddhism in the university. 8 Mahapadasalas and 3 large libraries were situated on the campus. Nalanda was ravaged and destroyed by Malmiks, Turkci Muslims under Bakhtiyar Khilji. Today it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Who were the Huns? Huns were the nomadic tribe who under their great Attila were terrorizing Rome and Constantinople. Associated with these tribes were the White Huns who came to India through Central Asia. They undertook regular invasions and were giving trouble to all Indian frontier states. After defeating Skandagupta, they spread across central India. Their chief Toramana crowned himself as king. After him, his son Mihirakula ruled the captured territories. Finally, Yasodharman, ruler of Malwa in central India, defeated them and ended their rule. Samudragupta introduced the Gupta monetary system. Kusana coin provided inspiration to Samudragupta. The Gupta's gold coins were known as dinara. Guptas issued many gold coins but comparatively few silver and copper coins. However, the post-Gupta period saw a fall in the circulation of gold coins, indicating the decline in the prosperity of the empire. Metallurgy. Mining and metallurgy were the most flourishing industries during the Gupta period. The most important evidence of development in metallurgy was the Mehroli iron pillar installed by King Chandragupta in Delhi. This monolithic iron pillar was lasted through the centuries without rusting. The metal used by them were iron, gold, copper, tin, lead, brass, bronze, bell metal, mica, manganese, and red chalk. Society. The society that adhered to four Varna system was patriarchal. According to laws of Manu, which was in force, women should be under the protection of their father, husband, or eldest son. Polygamy was widely prevalent. The king and feudatory lords often had more than one wife. Inscription refers to Kubernaga and Durbaswamini as the queens of Chandragupta too. Sati was practiced during the Gupta rule. Slavery. Slavery was not institutionalized in India as in the West, but there are references to the existence of various categories of slaves during the Gupta's age. Religion. There was a revival of Vedic religion and Vedic rites. Samudragupta and Kumaragupta once performed Aswamedha Yagana. We notice the beginning of image worship and the emergence of two sects, namely Vaishnavism and Saivism, during the Gupta period. Buddhism also continued to flourish, though it split into two sects, namely Hinayana and Mahayana. Art and architecture. The Guptas were the first to construct temples, which evolved from earlier tradition of rock-cut shrines adorned with towers and elaborate carvings. These temples were dedicated to all Hindu deities. The most notable rock-cut caves are found at Ajanta and Ellora in Maharashtra, Bagh in Madhya Pradesh, and Udyagiri in Odisha. The structural temples built during the period resemble the characteristic features of the Dravidian style. Two remarkable examples of Gupta's metal sculpture are a copper image of Buddha about 80 feet high at Nalanda. Second, Sultanganj Buddha 7.5 feet in height. The most important example of the Gupta's painting are found on the fresco of the Ajanta caves and the Bagh cave in Gwalior. Literature. Though the language spoken by the people was Prakrit, the Guptas made Sanskrit the official language, and all their epigraphic records are in Sanskrit. The Gupta period also saw the development of Sanskrit grammar based on the grammar of Panini and Patanjali, who wrote Astadhyayi and Mahabhashya respectively. A Buddhist scholar from Bengal, Chandragomiya, composed a book on grammar titled Chandra Vyakarnam. Kalidasa's famous dramas were Shakuntala, Malavikagnimitra, and Vikrama Urvashiyam. Other significant works of Kalidasa were Meghadutta, Raghuvamsa, Kumara Sambhava, and Ritu Samhara. Mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. Invention of zero and the consequent evolution of the decimal system were the legacy of Guptas to the modern world. Aryabhatta, Varahamihira, and Brahmagupta were foremost astronomer and mathematician of the time. Aryabhatta in his book Surya Siddhanta explained the true causes of solar and lunar eclipse. He was the first Indian astronomer to declare that Earth revolves around its own axis. Dhanvantari was a famous scholar in the field of medicine. He was specialist in Ayurveda. Charaka was a medical scientist. Sushruta was the first Indian to explain the process of surgery. Vardhana dynasty. The founder of the Vardhana or Pushyabhuti dynasty ruled from Taneshwar. Pushyabhuti served as a military general under the Guptas and rose to power after the fall of the Guptas. With the accession of Prabhakarvardhana, the Pushyabhuti family became strong and powerful. Rajavardhana, the eldest son of Prabhakarvardhana, ascended the throne after his father's death. Rajavardhana's sister Rajyasri's husband, Raja of Kanuj, was killed by the Gauda ruler Sasanka of Bengal. Sasanka also imprisoned Rajyasri. Rajavardhana, in the process of retrieving his sister, was treacherously killed by Sasanka. This resulted in his younger brother Harshavardhana becoming king of Taneshwar. The notable of the Kanuj kingdom also invited Harsha to take its crown. After becoming the ruler of both the Taneshwar and Kanuj, Harsha shifted his capital from Taneshwar to Kanuj. Conquest of Harshavardhana. The most popular king of the Vardhana dynasty was Harshavardhana. Harsha ruled for 41 years. His feudatories included those of Jalandhar, Kashmir, Nepal, and Vallabhi. Sasanka of Bengal remained hostile to him. It was Harsha who unified most of the northern India, but the extension of his authority in the south was checked by the Chalukyan king Pulikesian II. The kingdom of Harsha disintegrated rapidly into small states after his death in 648 AD. He maintained a cordial relationship with the rulers of Iran and China. Harsha met the Chinese traveler Huangshuang at Kanjangala near Rajmahal, Jharkhand for the first time. Administration. The emperor was assisted by a council of ministers. The prime minister occupied the most important position in the council of ministers. Bhaga, Hirnaya and Bali were the three kinds of tax collected during Harsha's reign. Criminal law was more severe than that of the Gupta's age. Life imprisonment was a punishment for violation of the laws and for plotting against the king. Perfect law and order prevailed throughout the empire. Harsha paid great attention to discipline and strength of the army. Harsha built a charitable institution for the stay of the travelers and to care for the sick and poor. Religious policy. Harsha was the worshipper of Shiva in the beginning, but he embraced Buddhism under the influence of his sister Rajyasri and the Buddhist monk and traveler Huangshuang. He belonged to Mahayana school of thought. Harsha treated Vedic scholars and Buddhist monks alike and distributed charities equally to them. He was the last Buddhist sovereign in India. As a pious Buddhist, Harsha stopped the killing of animals for food. He was noted for his policy of religious toleration and used to worship the images of Buddha, Shiva and Sun simultaneously. He summoned two Buddhist assemblies, one at Kanuj and another at Prayag. Huangshuang, the prince of pilgrimage, visited India during Harsha's reign. His Siyuki provides detailed information about the socio-economic, religious and cultural conditions of India during Harsha's time. Huangshuang tells us how Harsha, through a Buddhist, went to participate in the great Kumbh Mela held at Prayag. The assembly at Kanuj was attended by 20 kings. A large number of Buddhist, Jain, and Vedic scholars attended the assembly. A golden statue of Buddha was consecrated in a monastery, and a small statue of Buddha, 3 feet long, was carried in a procession. In the assembly at Prayag, Harsha distributed his wealth among the Buddhist, Vedic scholars and the poor people. Harsha offered a fabulous gift to the Buddhist monk on all the 4 days of the assembly. Art and literature. Harsha, himself a poet and dramatist, gathered around him a best of poets and artists. Harsha's popular works are Ratnavalli, Nagananda, and Priyadarshika. His royal court was adorned by Banabhatta, Mayura, Hardata, and Jayasena. Temples and monasteries functioned as centers of learning. Kannauj became a famous city. Harsha constructed a large number of viharas, monasteries, and stupas on the banks of the Ganges. The Naranda University, a university and monastery combined, was said to have had 10,000 students and monks in residence when Huangswang visited the university. Elsewhere, Chandragupta I was the contemporary of Constantine the Great, the Roman emperor who founded Constantinople. The Harsha's times coincide with the early days of Tang Dynasty of China. Their capital Xi'an was a great center of art and learning. Summary. Sri Gupta was the founder of Gupta dynasty. Chandragupta I, Samudragupta, and Chandragupta II were the great kings of Gupta dynasty. Vishnugupta was the last recognized king of Gupta Empire. Divine right theory of kingship was practiced by the Gupta rulers. Mining and metallurgy were the most flourishing industries during the Gupta period. The society that adhered to 4 Varna system was patriarchal. There was a revival of Vedic religion and Vedic rites. The Guptas were the first to construct temples, which evolved from the earlier tradition of rock-cut shrines. Aryabhatta, Varahamihira, and Brahmagupta were foremost astronomers and mathematicians of the time. Harsha was prominent ruler of Vardhana dynasty and was elevated to the position of an emperor. Harsha was a great artist and dramatist and contributed to the development of literature and art. Huangswang visited Nalanda and wrote his useful travel accounts, which help us understand the condition of India during Harsha's reign. Harsha, though a strong follower of Buddhism, also promoted Vedic religion. Thank you.